Right, hi everyone, Ian again, and this is another video that I think you will find useful. So we're going to open up QGIS. It's a new session of QGIS, and there's nothing in it. We are just going to add a base map from our quick map services layer. Let's add the OpenStreetMap layer, as well as the Google satellite imagery. Google satellite, you can turn that off. Let's zoom in to our study area. Down here somewhere, Port Alfred. Okay, so we need to go a little bit further south. Okay, so here we go. Here's our study area. Let's turn on the Google imagery. Where's a good place to start? Down here somewhere? Something like that. How far is it? I'm going to change the coordinate reference system. It's currently pseudo Mercator, which is the reason it's pseudo Mercator is because the Google imagery and the OpenStreetMap base data, that is the most commonly used transformation or coordinate reference system that they use. So it's in meters, but it won't be as accurate as if we chose our South African version. Well, our transverse Mercator hardware took, or even UTM zone 35 south, maybe, or maybe it's 34 south or 33. I don't know which one it is. Might be 35. But let's go and choose, actually, let's choose UTM zone 35 south. So let's select this and then just type in UTM 35 south. Where is that? That's spot on. I mean, look, that purple cross is our current viewpoint, and we are bang in the middle of that big red rectangle. So let's say, okay, so it's UTM zone 35 south. So you can go and choose that. If you don't see it here in your previously used coordinate reference systems, just go and look in the predefined ones and you'll see it. 35 south. 35 south. 36 south is over to the Mozambique side. So it's quite a wide band. It's a lot wider than the South African longitudinal Hardebeerstock LO19. We got LO19, LO21, LO23, LO25. So it does cover a few more, a wider set of longitudinal lines. So let's say okay. Okay, nothing really changed, but our coordinate reference system has changed. Great, so what I want to do is show you how to create a, what are we going to do? We're going to start off by creating a, I'm going to start with vegetation or a grid. Let's start off with vegetation. Okay, so we're going to create, so one of the things and the difficulties in digitizing something like vegetation is that I'll create it and then I'll show you the potential problems. So let's go and let's create a geopackage in this instance. So we'll go new geopackage and we will put it in GIS data tutorials, new, let's go geopackages. This geopackage can be called I'm not feeling very inspired. So we'll just call it Karika. And then we'll go vegetation. Geometry type, this is going to be a polygon. And we will use that same UTM zone 35 south. And then we'll go name. Name. Actually, let's just go type. What do we got? We've got vegetation type, vegetation categories. I think type is fine. So let's just make that 25. Add to list. What else can we have? We can have date. Date and time. And then maybe surveyor. And that'll be me. And then we can say, okay, now I don't see the FID. That should be added anyway. You'll see up here, there's a little warning signal. And that warning is just indicating that it's not the best when you're talking about accuracy, but I think it's going to be fine if we're calculating big swaths of vegetation in our study area. So let's say okay. Let's have a look, open up that attribute table. There's the FID. Okay, so with that, let's quickly go in and edit the form, the attributes form. The drag and drop designer, the FID can travel, type. So let's do date first. Date now. I'm going to apply default on update. And then this will be at user full name, also apply on default. So what that means is whenever we make an edit, it's going to add my name because I'm the person who edited it, and then it's also going to add the date of the edit. Okay, for whatever that date there, whatever that feature was edited, whatever it was. Okay, then the widget type. So let's just quickly go forest. What else can we? I mean, how many vegetation types are there? You will know these better than me. If we just pan over to the side, maybe we go thicket and shrub. Is that the same thing? Ooh, if only I could spell thicket, scrub. I mean, fynbos could be one. But I don't want to get carried away here. Okay, fynbos. Okay, so there we go. And then default, what's the most common one? Actually, I'm not going to put a default. I wanted to prompt if necessary. So let's say okay. Okay, so here we go. Let's change the color so we can see what we're doing. We'll just go to the layer symbology. We'll change this to like a bright green. And then what I want to do is go back and then just change the layer rendering opacity. Let's take that 50%. Reason being, I want to be able to see through it. If something is selected, I want to be able to see through it. And then I also want to be able to see through it when I'm digitizing to see if I've made any mistakes. Let's make that one. Let's make this a much darker green. Well, something like that. And that should stand out. Oh, you know what we didn't have is area. We need to have an area calculator. So that's fine. Let's go back to the vegetation, open up the attribute table, select the toggle editing mode, and we'll create a new field. We'll just call it area, and it will be a decimal number. Yeah, decimal number, fine. Okay, let's save that. We'll go back to the form view. Whoops. Back to the properties. Form view. Now we'll add area. And area can be just below type. Now this needs to be $ area. But let's calculate hectares. So we'll go $area divided by 10,000. And then what we'll just do here is just change this to hectares, and we want to update on edit. So anytime something changes, it's going to automatically update. So apply and okay. And then what we'll do is we'll just go to no labels, and we will go to the choosing single label. Okay, then we're going to go to the expression builder, and I want to label on area, but I want to format the number. Okay, so we can go format number. And it was area. One category. Meter squared, it's actually hectares, so let's go HA. Okay, so you see what QGIS does is it remembers a recent formula that you might have used. So all I've done is I've used the formula that we have used for formatting a number, except this time it's area, not length, because I think it's tutorial 4 we actually use this formatting option for a label. And instead of meters, it's hectares. So let's say okay. All right, so let's go digitize something. And before we get going, I'm going to turn, first of all, I want to maximize my view. And then I'm going to turn on the advanced digitizing toolbar. So right click and select advanced digitizing. And let's go and capture. Now, we are capturing from scratch. I'm assuming maybe this is how you capture. Okay, so now I'm going to a novice. This is how a novice will digitize something. Okay, so here's some vegetation. So first of all, what scale? Okay, so we need to select our layer and then turn on the toggle editing pencil. Okay, so now we're inside an editing session. We are going to add a polygon. So, okay, we've currently set our scale at, let's say we've been told capture at 4,000. So let's go and digitize this open field here. Now, obviously at this scale, when you zoomed out this far, the accuracy of your digitizing will be affected. But it's no issue, because this is an example. There to there. Right click to finish. And it calculates everything except it wants to know what it is. So let's call it felt and say okay. Boom, felt okay. Where is my label? Let's just save that. Stop editing. Let's refresh. Where's my label? Did I not turn it on? Maybe I've got that formula wrong. So let's just go double check that formula. Label, format number, area. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to just start off with area. Okay. Draw text buffer. Okay. Okay, there it is there. This is interesting. This is something I can show you as well. So if we have a look at I think it's under the label options, it tells you where it's going to label. So it's labeling around the centroid. Now the centroid of this polygon is actually outside of the area of the polygon, because if we drew a big box like this around our polygon extent, then the middle of that big box would be here, and that's where the centroid is. So even though it is labeling our polygon, the actual label is ending up outside of our polygon, which is not ideal. So what you can do is you can say using perimeter or free angled or horizontal. Okay, so instead of using around the centroid, you would use horizontal. And another fail-safe is you go to rendering and you just say, do not label if you can't draw it inside. So only draw labels which fit completely inside the feature. So that's another thing. So if we zoom out and zoom out further, then the label won't fit there anymore, because at that scale it won't render. But the minute we zoom in, it can put it. But here's our issue. We've got 35 hectares. I want to go 35.8 hectares. So let's just go back in here. And we're going to try format this again. And I don't know why that previous equation I used didn't work. So we're going to try again. String. Let's just delete this. String, where is format number? And then rather than type stuff out, I'm actually going to select it. So format number area, comma 1, and then close brackets. There, it's working. That's what we expect to see. But I want to concatenate it with some text. And the text is space hectare. There we go. I don't know, is hectare capital A, H, and a capital A? I don't know. So, okay. There, now it's working. So how is that different to what I had? I don't know. Maybe you could rewind the video and let me know. Okay, so now that's working properly. Okay, so now we've digitized the vegetation for this section and it is felt. Now, what about this little piece? Let's say we want to let's digitize this this section here. Let's call this scrub. Okay, we're going to digitize this section now. So what you would do if you were a novice is you'd select it, and now you digitize as best you can that little piece. Now it's obviously easier to just digitize vertices when you don't have something there already. Right click to finish, call the scrub. Okay, there we go. So now there's scrub. So I think you already know what the problem is here. Is if you start zooming into this boundary, you'll see that the vertices do not match up. Okay, because we were at a much, now even if you zoomed it at a much closer scale and you did it, so for instance, let's say we're just going to use our little node tool, and we're going to put this as close as we can to there. Now, there we go, perfect, right? But if you zoom in again, same problem. So it just depends on the scale that you capture it. You're going to have issues. So there's something you can do to fix this. So first of all, let's get rid of this. Okay, so now we are going to digitize that section again, but I want to use the snapping tools. So turn on snapping tools, open snapping options, select the advanced configuration, and we'll snap to the vertices. Okay, so now this is one way to fix it. Let's capture a new piece. So now we get our purple vertex indicating, or our purple little block, which indicates that we have snapped to that edge. Right click finish. There we go. It was scrub. Okay. Now I know, because I set the snapping options on, that it would have snapped perfectly. Okay, so that is one way to do it. And the issue comes when you've got thousands of little curves. Like, I mean, strictly speaking, okay, let's do this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the advanced digitizing tool to just change this boundary. So with the edge vegetation layer selected, I'll choose this little option here, reshape features, and then I start inside my feature, I intersect my boundary, and then I'll digitize this new section. So I think you can already see what the problem is. The problem is I'm creating so many little vertices so that when I now come back in and digitize the vegetation to the right of where I'm working, I'm going to have to snap to, like, you know, a couple of hundred little blocks. Okay, so I intersect my boundary again, I right click to finish, and it reshapes it. All right, so here we go. So now that's perfect, but we want to capture this section. So let's imagine all that section's one. So we'll start again, and we'll start from here. We'll go to there. We're just going to be very clever, okay, because sometimes you can miss the next vertices. And this is one way to do it. This is not the way I do it. I'm going to show you the way I do it. But this is one way that is accurate. Okay, but now, like I suggested, you're going to have to just make sure you capture all of these. And if you miss one of them, you're going to have a little splice or a little sliver where you've missed out that section. This is actually quite fun. Maybe not. I think I'll speed this part of the video up. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop editing. Right click, you get the picture. And that's forest. Okay, the point is, when you have multiple vertices on a shared boundary, you essentially have to digitize the same boundary twice. Once when you capture it for the first time, and then for the second time. Okay, so there we go. We've got some vegetation captured. Now that is not how I would do it. I would do it differently. First of all, let's deselect, or I'm gonna stop editing, and I'm gonna chuck all my edits out. Now discard all my edits. Let's delete that one as well. Delete that one. Save. So what I like to do is I like to capture, if I'm digitizing within a property or a study area and I have a study area extent or boundary, then I like to use that as my base. So let's see, do we have, I think we might have, if we go back to module 2, creating a map. Now, not everyone's done module 2, but you can get hold of the cadastre information from me if you like. Just give me a shout. Spatial, creating a map, farm portions. Okay. Okay, so let's select that one. What is the... Okay, so let's imagine now that that is the area we're going to capture the vegetation in. So this is my study area now. So I've got my study area. So let's just right click and export save selected features as it can be in that same geopackage. Actually, let's first of all go get the name of this. What is this farm portion here? Parcel number 431. Okay, 431. So that's the farm number. We'll use that. So let's go back. I deselect that. Let's go and export save selected features. It's geopackage, Karicha, and let's farm portion 431. Add to the view. That's fine. We can add it. Okay, let's remove, well, we can actually leave this in the background, but let's color it up slightly differently. No brush, and let's change this to orange. Okay, then this is our new farm, and we'll just make it okay, so that is the farm. Let's deselect everything. Hello? Deselect everything. And then we've got our vegetation. So now remember, there's nothing in our vegetation layer yet. So what you can do is, instead of exporting this farm portion as farm portions, you can export it as vegetation. So now that becomes the full extent of a vegetation. But now I've already got a vegetation layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this. I'm going to start editing that. I'm going to select my layer. Then I'm going to use this little option, copy feature, go into that layer and say paste feature. And then I can stop editing that one and stop editing that one, save. If I deselect everything, now look, I have vegetation. If I open up my record, I have vegetation for that entire area. So I had 2 polygon layers open in an editing session at the same time. I selected a feature, I copied it, I went to the other one, made it the active layer, and I selected paste. And then I just copied one into the other. Only thing I need to do is I need to change this. So now this is where I would start. I want to choose my most common vegetation type that is underneath, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. Why is it not showing this? Oh, there it is. So let's make it, let's call it felt. So let's call the most common type felt. And let's say save. Okay, so now this is what I would do. So instead of capturing those portions of vegetation or polygons of vegetation separately and next to each other, I would start off with the full extent of my study area as the vegetation. And then rather than capture each feature, I'm going to split this. And by splitting my vegetation, I think you get the idea what's going to happen now. Now what's going to happen is I only have to capture the shared boundary once. So start an editing session, select my vegetation layer. I'm going to choose my split features, and then let's go ahead here. Let's go back down to close to 4. Well, let's go back down to 4,000. This is just a random figure. If you have people working with you and you want to stipulate an accuracy, you can tell them do not capture anything above 1,000, and then that forces them to zoom into this level. Okay, and then you can even set the scale. So you right click and you say, let's say my setting is 4,000. You'll set scale visibility, make it 4,000, and then you'll set this to 4,000. And so they have to capture at 399 at a minimum. So then that way, they're never going to capture at, say, 6,000. They'll capture at 4,000 or less. Okay, so it's, or 1,000, whatever you set. Okay, so here we go. So I am now, much like I did when I reshaped the boundary, I can intersect the boundary. I mean, to split the features, I need to intersect the boundary. So you start outside, intersect, and then you just digitize the section of your property. Clever, turning off. So I'm just using my mouse to scroll in and out. Okay, I'm going to assume that's all felt. Right click to finish. And then what you might need to do is just come in here, just select it, open up your attribute table, selected features only. Okay, that one's already felt. So what you can maybe do is select that one, open up your attribute table again, that one there, and then just make that everything else forest, for instance. Okay, so now you've made sure that you have the new value. Okay, so now as you can see, I have split a feature, so now that boundary is already captured. So now what if I want that little section? So that's easy enough. I just keep splitting. So in this case, if that section is a different type of vegetation to this, or even let's say this, yeah, let's call that scrub. So then let's go split again. So start inside your feature, intersect the boundary. Okay, we've still got our snapping option set on, which is good. Okay, then now I've got a new piece, but that new piece needs a label. And open up the attribute table, and that one is scrub. Save. And so as you go, you just make sure that you edit the feature that you've just created. So by cutting things in half, we are not digitizing the boundary twice. You get the idea. Okay, then there are the other tools, which I did show you in other tutorials. So for instance, if you want to, let's deselect everything first. So remember, if any one of your features is selected and you start digitizing, then the program is going to try and apply whatever you're doing to the selected feature. So just make sure you deselect the features when you want to work in areas, unless you want to work in the area you have selected. Okay, so let's say I want to, this is like a little dam maybe. So if I want to cut a pocket there, we can just go to this option, which is fill ring. We'll just digitize the extent of this. Right click to finish. This is quite nice because now it asks us what it should be. Let's call it Veinbos for argument's sake. That little section. So now we've got a little ring. Here's another little dam. You know, maybe this would be wetland or something like that, or just water body. You know, that can be one of your categories, I guess. Okay, so there's a bunch. And it just makes your life a lot easier. And there's this piece that we were working with earlier. So let's do that as the last one. And then we'll move on to the very last thing I wanted to show you. That one is supposed to be a scrub. Save, stop editing, deselect all, zoom out. See, what I can do is maybe turn off my scale visibility, zoom out a bit. So this is lacquer. You see, it's calculating the area as we go, and it allows us to cut something in half, and then we don't have to digitize the boundary twice. Okay, so that's how I would digitize vegetation, if vegetation is what you're capturing. But you can capture most polygons in the same way. So create an extent, boundary extent, and then just chop it up into the pieces that you need. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is something that I believe there's going to be some remote sensing done, and some AI software is going to be used to capture and assimilate, or what is it, machine learning? I don't know what it's called. It's basically they're going to send you an image. You're going to send them a digitized polygon of the imagery for vegetation, telling them which piece of vegetation is which, and then their software will be able to say, okay, they said that this is fynbos, that equates to this resolution or this spectrum of light, and then they'll be able to then use that to do almost like a land cover, generate a land cover, I imagine. But what they need is they need data from you so that they can apply it to their AI. And they were talking about 100 meter by 100 meter grids. So 100 meter by 100 meter grids. So using this this technique we've just created, we are going to capture a 100 meter by 100 meter portion of vegetation, and then save that as a vegetation layer. So let's just stop editing that, turn that off. We'll create a new layer. So it's going to be geopackage again. In fact, why reinvent the wheel? I'm just going to use this layer here. I will just use this layer here. Okay, so let's, actually what I can do is I can duplicate this. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to go export, save features as I'll just call it vegetation grid. And yep, I can add it. That's my vegetation grid. I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy everything now. I'm copying all categories. Now what that means is not only the color and the labeling, it's also going to copy the form attributes. So paste all categories. Okay, so now if I just quickly show you, have a look at the properties, and then the attributes form, the surveyor, everything is still set up as it was. Okay, because we used the option to copy the style, all the styles across. Okay, so with that, I'm going to use that. So I'm going to delete this. So select all and disappear it and save. Okay, so now, okay, so if you want to go and create, we need to create a 100 meter by 100 meter grid portion that can be saved out and sent away to, I forget his name, sent away to Alistair Potts. Okay, so Alistair's the gentleman I spoke to. Okay, so let's go. If some of you don't know what I'm talking about, I think you need to speak to Natalie. All right, then let's go have a look here. We've got a grid. So we want to go vector, research tools, create a grid, and it's going to be a polygon. So it needs to be a rectangle. And the grid extent we'll just draw on the screen. So let's just go to draw on canvas. Draw on map canvas. So let's just put it there like that. And then the horizontal spacing is 100 meters by 100 meters. Okay, and we can, now this is where Alistair would need to tell us what coordinate reference system he wants it in. So we would select it here. And then the grid, I'm going to go temporary. I'm creating a temporary grid. We'll select run and close. Okay, so now those are 100 meter by 100 meter grids. Now let's imagine we just want this one here. This is the section we are capturing. So what we'll do is we'll just start editing, and I will select that one, copy it, go to my Karicha vegetation grid and paste it. That's 1 hectare. So 100 meters by 100 meters is 10,000 meters squared, which is 1 hectare. And then we can stop editing that one and turn it off, and then zoom in here. Okay, so there you go. There you've got your 100 meter by 100 meter grid, and then start digitizing what he needs, which I would think is to do this kind of thing. Okay, this vegetation type. And then, I don't know, whatever the vegetation type was, etc. Okay, you capture a whole bunch of those, deselect that, stop editing, save. Let's say that's in a geopackage. Let's say he wants this as a shapefile. Right click, export, save features as, and he wants a shapefile. So let's send him that. I'm assuming, I don't know if he wants a shapefile, but let's just pretend that he does. Shapefile and vegetation grid. Save. We don't need to add it. Let's save that. And then maybe while I'm thinking of it, something I can show you. So now that's not added to our project, but it is on our drive. So let's go have a look where it is. Shapefiles. There it is there. There's the shapefile. If you are emailing a shapefile to someone, I always recommend zipping the shapefile. Whether you've got 10 shapefiles in a folder, you can zip all of them into that one folder, but don't attach these to an email. Rather zip them first. And then attach the zipped file to the email, because it happens more often than you would think. Very often you might do something like this, attach that, or you send all of them to the person as a shapefile, but when they copy them off their email, they don't scroll down and select everything. They don't select all. They just select the ones they can see, thinking that that is a shapefile, and they leave off the SHP or the SHX, and the thing won't open. So if you can prevent that, do it, and you can prevent that by zipping it. Okay, was there anything else? I'm sure there are going to be things. Get hold of me, get in touch. I'm happy to help out if we haven't covered anything in these tutorials. But otherwise, I hope it's going to be, I hope it's been a useful couple of days for you. Good luck with everything. Let me know how it goes. Okay, cheers.